their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
We received the news that nobody wants to hear. Your child has cancer. St. Jude made us feel that everything was gonna be alright.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. This is the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, Ashlyn over there. We're going to go ahead and deep dive in a little bit down to Jefferson City. That is where the great Tim Jones is. Tim Jones, Christopher Arp Show, 4 o'clock. We are heading into the last 2 weeks of the session, and Tim is going to give us an update on what is happening down there and how things are going to be rolling, and particularly with the property taxes, everything else. You know, actually, one thing that really didn't get a whole lot of attention, and maybe it did by you, was basically the cancellation of this whole emissions testing program, which is really great. I mean, and that was, I mean, going far back as far as I know, has been a thing. But what a scam that was. I mean, seriously, when you look at all the things that basically we have to do just to conduct our everyday lives and drive our cars and all that kind of stuff, the emissions test was absolute friggin' nonsense. And so many people made so much money off of that. And, of course, that's usually why a lot of these programs start up to begin with, is because the politicians figured out a way to create something that ultimately would create some kind of windfall for them or their buddies or whatever. And so they create these unnecessary types of programs that us rubes, are the unwashed masses, kind of have to go through so their buddies can make bank on something completely and totally unnecessary. And I'm sure you guys, if I thought about it a little longer, I could come up with a ton of other types of nonsense requirements that we have to go through just to kind of exist, not to mention even a marriage license. Let's just put it that way. Who on God's green earth possibly thought it was a good idea to make people get a license to get married? I mean, my Lord. And when you think about this stuff, because it's stuff that we kind of accept on an everyday basis, and we just kind of say, oh, yeah, I got to go down and get my marriage license. It's like nobody thought, I guess, in the past to say, why? And again, it's another construct of these greedy, piggy politicians who constantly figure out ways to make people spend money and give them money to keep their little racketeering operations going. It's really a scam. It's really a scam. I think you guys can come up with more ideas, and as you do, more examples. And as you do, I'll mention them because I've got the Facebook feed and the Rumble feed going. And if you guys have any comments about that, I will pass them along to the masses. I definitely will. All right, so we have to I'm going to get into I've talked about this last week as well when Fauci's secondhand man was indicted for hiding information. This is a scandal of monumental proportions, and there's no doubt Fauci was involved in it. This was in particular about the vaccines, where they were basically hiding paperwork or not even doing the paperwork at all just to avoid Freedom of Information Act requests. I talked to Christina Bobb a little bit about that yesterday, but this is absolutely a scandal. And Rand Paul has pointed out that time is running out to get Fauci on the hook for any involvement in said scandal, namely his lying to Congress, which is what he did. How he remains protected by the Department of Justice is beyond me, but we will follow up on that. And I want to, before we go to Tim down in Jefferson City, though, this is something relatively pressing because because all of this nonsense regarding the so-called cool kids that we have, it's almost like high school, right? You always have this club of people who think they're really super cool. And so in that category would be the Nick Fuenteses and the Tucker Carlsons and Megyn Kellys and Candace Owens. They're just that little club that thinks they're cooler than everybody else and smarter than everybody else. Hang out together, eat lunch together in the cafeteria, hang out in the hallway together, wear the same types of clothes and all that other stuff. You guys know what I am talking about. And these individuals are more seriously destructive than I think we understand. And it's occurred to me that Republicans, and I don't think this is a virtue. Like, for instance, I don't think being a loser is a virtue. So what's going to happen if we continue to allow these fissures? And I don't think that being independent-minded or being out there or, calling balls and strikes, that's not a virtue. That's called being a pansy. That's called not standing for anything. And so, again, I understand that people have issues with the Iran war. I get it. But are you seriously going to tell me that you're off the Trump train or you're not supporting President Trump anymore or whatever because of the Iran war? It probably means that you really weren't part of it to begin with. And I get it. I've had Doug Giles on the air. I get it. But my goodness gracious, stop being babies. Otherwise, we are going to lose the midterms and we're going to lose in 2028. Republicans are so good at the fainting couch for some reason. And it kind of drives me crazy. We already had to go through the round of it when President Trump was running the first time. And so we had to deal with the Jeb Bushes of the world and the Mitt Romneys of the world and all these little eyelash fluttering fops out there with their powdered wigs and buckled shoes and everything, insinuating somehow that President Trump was just not polished enough to be the president of the United States and blah, 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 blah. And now, of course, all of those people, the staff pretty much makes up the bulwark and all the Never Trump crowd. That's pretty much how they act. But anyway, we had to deal with that section of the cool kids the last time around. Finally wound up being able to kind of suffocate them and make them disappear, which is why you don't hear about Mitt Romney or Jeb Bush anymore. And thank God we don't. Fast forward now to this point in time, and now we have to deal with this grouping of people. And I used to say back in the day with Jeb Bush and Mitt Romney, I'm like, I don't know what you guys think is going to happen. Like, if you try to sabotage President Trump's goals in 2016, do you think that once you have caused President Trump to lose, that somehow we're all going to go back to you and say, oh, just like Pinocchio and the Lost Boys, we're going to go back to you and be part of your club again? I don't know what you're thinking. So if you're Megyn Kelly or you're Candace Owens or you are Tucker Carlson, I don't know what you're thinking. That somehow once you have caused the Republican Party to lose the midterms and everything else, that somehow we're just going to start listening to only you. We're just going to go to your podcasts. So I'm going to go to a rather unlikely source because I don't really have a whole lot of love for Bill O'Reilly, right? I think he's, but whatever. But sometimes Bill O'Reilly is right about things. And so he's on News Nation and PM 3105. Were you in Star Wars? He says the GOP and RNC better get their messaging on point and overwhelm people with facts and the positives of what this administration has done, or the midterms will be lost. You are absolutely right. And so I kind of want to get into Bill O'Reilly being interviewed by another person who I have very little love for, and that's Leland Vittert over there. Anyway, but Bill O'Reilly makes a good point about what we're facing if we can't figure out a way to extract, as PM points out, the positives and focus on the good things. And that's not being Pollyannish. That's not making you just a follower. I love all these Republicans and conservatives who think that standing on the sidelines somehow makes them better, when the reality is it makes them really a loser. And once everybody has lost, and we've lost the MAGA mojo and everything else, if you think somehow we're not going to hang that around your neck like a burning tire, you've got your screw loose. I don't know why this isn't going on. Can you turn that up? Is this up? Oh, I don't know why.
Trump. That
Here we go.
said, yours and my former colleague at Fox News, Karl Rove, made the point that Republicans at some point are going to have to make a choice between sticking by the president and acknowledging the pain of the American people. Take a listen.
They got to show they have another act, not just vote for me because of what I've done, but vote for me because of what I want to do. Here's the agenda that I'm going to work hard for in my next term. And that agenda has to come from them. Can't be given from the leadership, can't come from the president. It has to come from them.
Is there room for Republicans to move away
Leland, answer the question, okay, please?
from Trump?
Gee whiz.
No. That's the answer to that question. No.
No.
He's the ship.
Carl's wrong.
You're either going to sail with it or go down with it. What Rove is talking about is that he wants the individual people running for office in November to be better campaigners, to connect with the voters in an emotional way. And of course, that would be best for the Republican Party if that were to happen. But if you think that you can cut loose the most charismatic populist president in the last 50 years, you're crazy.
Yeah, so what Bill O'Reilly's saying, too, is it's not only the Candace Owens of the world or the nose-in-the-air television and radio conservative hosts up there who are going to be held responsible. It's also the Republicans who are running for office and pretending not to know Donald Trump. We had that problem back in 2024. Just kind of acting like, they're thinking that they just keep their distance, everything will be okay. But the fact of the matter is, and I said this in 2024, I said, you being a ledge sitter isn't attractive. We don't like people like that. And so it happened in 2022. It was the same damn thing. The Republicans lost the midterms, and then they blamed President Trump, who wasn't even in office. Why did we lose the midterms in 2022? Because of lazy Republicans who didn't stand up for anything and wound up actually winding up falling down. And so you're not going to be credited for your so-called independence and, middle of the road and denying MAGA. You're not going to be credited for that. In fact, it'll be even worse for you because you will be blamed. It was either laziness in 2022 or people like Lindsey Graham, who decided 6 weeks before the election that he had a wise idea of trying to bring back federalizing abortion laws after Roe versus Wade was overturned. I mean, it is unbelievable what Republicans do. We could be so good and so victorious if we just had some balls. And we have so much potential, but the problem is we have too many people who either are like a baseball team out in the field picking daisies or not practicing and wind up with balls going through their legs. This is serious and at time. This is a time to be a pro. And it's not a time to be to kind of burnish your podcasts or whatever it is because you're some kind of outlier or because you're kind of one of the cool kids. You're not. You're not. You're going to cost us elections, and the Republicans who are not out there muscularly campaigning, as Bill O'Reilly said, are doing damage to us and need to be held responsible for that. President Trump, man, don't you get tired of watching this? He seems to be having to do the heavy lifting all by himself, even as he tries to tame our feckless European allies. Back home, everybody's criticizing him for making the Frenchmen mad. Oh no, don't make the Italians mad. Don't make the Germans. It's like, come on, man. What are you talking about? Stand up for the country. And it's the same way people are not standing up for the country in this Iran thing. Is it the best thing that I didn't even want it to happen? But once it did happen, I supported it because I trust the president and his instincts. I thought it would be a distraction. I thought, we could probably give it a little more time and go ahead and get this domestic stuff taken care of and whatever. But I'm not suddenly collapsing over it. I'm not one of these fainting goats out there like all these other Republicans are. Come on, people. Get with the program. Come over to my house. Good afternoon, everyone. It is the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, and Tim Jones is on the way. It's Common Sense Radio.
The unfamiliar sheets are so cool on your skin. When your daddy called, said you were out of friends. long way home. Going on my first impression, I recall you wearing white. There was something sweet in the air, babe. That summer night, there will always be another time for us to fall in love, but it never cuts you quite as deep as that first time. You'll find out that the deepest cut is the first time.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app
Love the all-new app.
and listen anytime, anywhere.
The Window World window is truly an amazing piece of art, as I should say. They are really beautiful, and they're great-looking windows, and they have the benefit to you of being not only beautiful, but super strong. They're so strong, Window World has a lifetime warranty attached to them. And so that's parts, labor, breakage, and you name it. That's how confident they are that this window is great. The Good Housekeeping seal of approval hath been bestowed on Window World windows. And Qualified Remodeler Magazine, I realize your subscription ran out, but I still get it. And they say that the Window World window is the #1 selling window in the country. And by the way, they're right here in St. Louis. So you've got the warehouse, you've got the people who run the place. John Gillette is an awesome dude, constantly giving back to the community. Big-time supporters. It's the official window of the St. Louis Blues. And so these are great people with a great window that is thermally superior to all the rest. As I've told you before, I do real estate, and when I go into homes that have been remodeled, invariably, there's the Window World window, the #1 choice for remodelers, but also for you if you need to replace a window or just want to do a whole house project because your windows are rickety and all that kind of thing. It saves you money on not only in the winter your heating bills, but also your cooling bills in the summer as well, because these babies are airtight. 1-800-GET-WINDOWS, 1-800-GET-WINDOWS.
Do you know why I endorse Cafe Napoli, all the locations? Visit any of them, and you will quickly appreciate the quality of food, service, atmosphere. So maybe I'll see you at Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli Kirkwood, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. Or maybe you'll find me at Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Now you know why I endorse Napoli, NapoliSTL.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
John Bill Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call the John Bill to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Bill has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Bill.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Just when many thought they were done with former Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush, not so fast. She's running to reclaim the seat she lost to Wesley Bell. He's been considered more moderate than Bush, but over the weekend he started sending out messages, "Support me to impeach Donald Trump." Bell apparently realizing his campaign could be hijacked by Cori if he doesn't get tougher against Trump. In the meantime, another Democrat congresswoman pushing legislation first introduced by Bush in 2021. Michigan Congresswoman Tlaib calls her bill Unhoused Persons Bill of Rights, code for homeless. Now, this proposal, if it becomes law, would allow the homeless to take over any public property, even private property. They could not be removed if dozens decide to camp out at your child's school, your church, a McDonald's. What happens if the homeless decide to take over Congresswoman Tlaib's home? Think they'd be allowed to stay? I have proposed numerous times before. Leftists, You want to take care of the homeless? Open doors and rooms in your home. Let them sleep with your children. Are they doing it? You know the answer.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
They wanted to close up the strait again, as they've been doing for years, and they can't blackmail us.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by the Walner Home Selling Team.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here. Happy to be with you. Ashton over there as well, and down in Jefferson City. As we get into the final stretch, I think next week is actually the last week of the session. Tim will be able to establish that once and for all. Tim Jones. The Tim Jones, Christopher Arp Show every day at 4 o'clock here on News Talk STL. Tim in Jefferson City, and we are winding down, brother. How you doing?
Doing great, Jamie. Yeah, nothing more exciting than driving 2 hours into the wilderness to get to the city of Jefferson every week. We're all glad, Jamie, that our freedoms, our liberties, and our pocketbooks will be safe once again on Friday, May 15th. When the big legislative ball drops at 6 p.m., the session will be over. So, yeah, Jamie, we're in the home stretch, and this week is budget week.
Okay, so where are we on some of the other things? Like, I know the income tax is all taken care of. We're on the road with that one. Property tax, it kind of made headway, but there's not going to be anything decisive, or will there be?
So, Jamie, yeah, great question. So, we've had, as with every session, because we're dealing with 197 different legislators, sometimes with 197 different legislative priorities. That's the importance of leadership. As much as people want to decry leadership, if you don't have good leadership, then everybody just wanders around in Jefferson City. Jamie, you've seen it. There's like 8 zillion different things going on up in the Capitol. And the job of leadership, you hope it's conservative leadership, is moving these caucuses, which are full of a lot of big personalities and a lot of big egos in some cases, trying to move them all in the same direction. And then, Jamie, you have all the snipers out there, right? You've got the left, of course, who don't want Republicans to pass anything because they don't have any good ideas themselves, and they think that everything Republicans want to do, like cut taxes and give parents more choice over their kids' education, whatever it might be, they think those are all bad ideas. So you got the left. You have the largely liberal media, with the exception of us here at News Talk STL at the Capitol every week, between you and I visiting. But you've got definitely a legacy liberal media kind of intelligentsia trying to just convince legislators to just do what the establishment wants to, just do what the big government types want to have done. And then, Jamie, you have people who let the perfect be the enemy of the good on everything. So, as much as you and I may love the intellectual purity of a Rand Paul or a Thomas Massey, I mean, that's wonderful. I'd love to live in their worlds where everything is completely perfect and pure and nobody messes with any perfect bills. But see, that's not reality.
Right.
And you have legislative processes, and you have amendments, and you have ways that people can just literally drive really good issues into a ditch to die forever unless you make some concessions. Now, you should never give away your principles, but Jamie, that as long as we're going to have human beings running legislatures, that there's never going to be a completely perfect bill. I don't know, maybe a highway naming bill that honors our military men and women or police officers. But I'm sure even that would have its critics, right? So Jamie, we do the best we can. So every year we have the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the good this year was HJR 173, which was the proposal that we all will get to vote on either in August or November to revolutionize Missouri's tax code. Now, a lot of people are terrified about this because it is revolutionary. A lot of people don't think it went far enough or that it doesn't have this, that, the other thing in it. And then, of course, the left hates it because we are going to hopefully pass this with a big, giant yes vote from Missouri voters. And then we are going to begin the process of completely phasing down, eliminating our income tax, and replacing that with a lower consumption tax. The idea is to give people a lift, a net decrease of their tax burden, lighten their tax burden all across. Don't replace anything with higher taxes or higher tax rates, but move to a fair tax, a consumption tax system, which is something that conservatives have championed for, 30 or 40 years, going back to the Reagan Revolution.
Well,
so Jamie, that's done, and that's going to be on the ballot. And I hope everybody votes yes on whatever that amendment is named. It doesn't have a number yet, but Denny Hoskins will give it one soon enough.
I was talking about what you're just talking about on a more national level. I was talking about that at the beginning of the show because it's becoming clear that there are a bunch of crows on the wire and fainting goats among us who are going to ruin our chances of getting elected in the midterms and continuing on with President Trump's agenda, similarly as you're talking about, because I know for a fact, because I see them on Facebook and everything else, it doesn't matter what Republicans do, if they get something passed, there's always something wrong with it. And these people bitch and moan about it all the time without seeing the bigger picture. And to tell you the truth, I really don't even know what intellectual purity is. I think it's one of those things that people talk about, but actually, if you ask them, they wouldn't even be able to define it. So I don't have any respect for whatever it is that is being called intellectual purity. So I agree with you on that, especially when it comes to this legislation.
Yeah, Jamie, I agree. I think they define it by whatever happens to be in their subjective self-consciousness on any given day, right?
Yeah.
It's self-defined, right? That's
of course it is.
And I loved your last segment for the break there before I came in, and you're absolutely right. And that's the thing, Jamie. The one thing I wish Republicans would learn from Democrats is the beauty of incremental successes and victories, right? That's how the Democrats, from the passage of the income tax, courtesy of the worst, most racist Democrat leader ever, President Woodrow Wilson, back in 1913, Jamie, that's how they've moved this country to the left for over 120 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they've slowly done it. They've slowly put us on a path towards failed Euro socialism if we don't stop this. And so you're right. So you can't let bills, which are really good, if a conservative bill makes it through the wolves' den and the battlefields of the legislative process and comes out relatively unscathed on the other side, that's something we should support, even though it may not be perfect in our mind's eye. And Jamie, to answer your other question about property taxes, there may be a bill or two that helps out on the fringes on this issue. But Jamie, that HJR I mentioned, that big tax cut proposal that's going to be on our ballot, it has a huge mechanism in it by which our local property taxes could actually and very well will go down. Because if you move to a consumption-based system, the fair tax, that's going to affect taxation on the local level. But guess what? That bill has a safeguard in it. It says, you local governments, you don't get to keep you don't get to have a windfall in moving to consumption-based taxes. You have to give that money back to the people. And how do local governments, Jamie, make their money? They make it off of personal property and local property taxes. Those are pretty much the only two ways they do it. So they're going to be forced to engage in property tax relief, personal and real estate, whether they like it or not. And that is the beauty of that HJR 173 that is going to get an amendment number pretty soon. And it's going to join Amendment 3, which is the pro-life proposal, and Amendment 4, which is the initiative petition proposal to protect our Constitution from constant assault by outstate foreign billionaires. Those three amendments, Jamie, they are going to be the most critical decisions that Missourians will have the opportunity to make, maybe in our lifetime, definitely in the past 20 years, where we are going to protect life in our Constitution. We're going to protect our Constitution from constantly being assaulted by these deceitful, quote, citizen-led ballot initiatives, which are not citizen-led. They're left-wing billionaire-led. And, Jamie, to put a mandate into the Constitution to finally phase down and eliminate the insidious income tax. The states that don't have an income tax, Jamie, you talk about them all the time. They're absolutely crushing it with people and prosperity and GDP growth, and Missouri needs to get with the program.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And to your earlier point, I think it was brilliant about the Democrats. And I was just thinking that the Democrats over the period of, a couple of decades have played kind of a political version of Whitey Ball, which is what the Cardinals are kind of back to now. That's how they beat the Dodgers, the world champion Dodgers over the weekend. They're kind of back to that. And that's that incremental type of baseball. You're kind of hitting singles here, you're hitting singles there, you're stealing a base here or an election there, whatever. And so the Democrats have been pretty good at that. And we just have a bunch of people sometimes who are either lazy or they're playing a different game, So I think you're right. I think we have to have more of a cohesiveness, and you're also right about the intellectual purity when I ask what that is. And the only people who ever define it are the ones who kind of claim that they're intellectually pure. So they're the only ones who define it.
Yeah, and Jamie, I'll tell you, to continue the baseball analogy, we have loaded the bases, right, with these three amendment proposals. These were legislatively drafted, so they were not done by some out-of-state fringe left-wing group supported by billionaires where they write the ballot language and then they fund it with billions of dollars. They call it something that it's not. Hey, everybody, vote for pink fluffy unicorns and free stuff. Oh, okay. And everybody just goes votes yes because they don't know what's in this. Jamie, these three proposals went through the entire legislative process. Two of them went through last year, right? January through May, fully vetted, committees, both chambers, and then they passed the House and the Senate, and they're headed to the ballot. The pro-life proposal, which is Amendment 3, that's going to be on the ballot this year. The initiative petition reform, protecting Missouri's Constitution, that's going to be Amendment 4. That's on the ballot this year. The tax phase-down elimination bill to eliminate our income tax and move us to a better system, a better lower system of taxation, that's going to get an amendment number as well. So, Jamie, we've loaded the bases with those incremental successes. And now Missouri voters can hit the grand slam by voting for all three of those. We'll keep everybody updated. The governor has to decide by the end of this month, end of May, which ones go on which ballot. Jamie, there's a lot of political gamesmanship. There's a lot of polling, okay? Which voters show up in August versus November this year and what's going to give us our best chances. And so once the governor and his team and all the stakeholders decide all that, we'll let everybody know where those amendments are going to be August or November, but they will get voted on this year by we the people.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we can do it, and we just have to. This is a hard fought win, I believe. We never really thought that the income tax thing would ever make it out of the basement, just because of some Republicans. And so thanks to the Freedom Caucus, I think, and just, a lot of common sense, we've finally got some people to kind of act like adults in our party in Missouri, and I think that's good.
Yeah, Jamie, I'm glad you brought that up. The Freedom Caucus is what I would define as a very functional Freedom Caucus. They have been at the tip of the spear on every single issue that I just spoke with you about, and many, many more. Nick Schroer, Senator Schroer, on our station all the time, got his own programs on the weekends, good friend of you and I. He is the chairman of the Freedom Caucus. Ben Keithley, another awesome legislative leader from the St. Louis region, from Chesterfield, one of the most brilliant legislators that I know. I mean, just a brilliant mind, a committed conservative. Ben has been handling things like the REINS Act this year to rein in the regulatory administrative state. He helped out dramatically and massively on the tax cut proposal. He is the vice chair of the Freedom Caucus. So you got a great leader in the Senate, Nick Schroer, great leader in the House, Ben Keithley, and they're joined by 11 of their colleagues. You got Adam Schnelting, Senator Schnelting, who helped get Amendment 3 on the ballot in the Senate. And then you've got all these other brilliant freedom fighters in the House, like your Darren Chappells, who is like an expert on the budget. Darren's been doing budgeting, governmental budgeting as part of his career. He helped run a couple city governments around the state. And you've got Bill Hardwick, who's running for the Senate, and we really need him to get over to that chamber because he's termed out in the House. You got Holly Jones, my state rep, sister from another mother, who's our Maha warrior, you know?
Right.
And I could go, Jamie, I could go on and on. And look, not everybody's cut out to be in a Freedom Caucus. That's fine because we have a lot of great allies as well. And if they don't want to wear the T-shirt, that's cool. Just help us out. We'll be the tip of the spear. We'll be the conservative conscience. But, Jamie, every single battle, I can't think of one that doesn't exist. Every single conservative battle this year, a Freedom Caucus member has either directly sponsored and handled the bill or been the sponsor for one of the handlers in the other chamber or run the committee that the bills have gone through or been intimately and directly involved in making sure that these priorities get passed. And so that's a functional Freedom Caucus that has continued to carry that mission forward. And look, we're not going to agree with everybody all the time. And when you do something stupid, we're going to call you out like last week, Jamie. So that's kind of the good. But the bad and the ugly was last week, Ben Keithley, he had a parental rights bill on the House floor. Parental rights, making sure parents are in charge. And Jamie, guess what? Something hardly that ever happens, maybe once or twice a session, the House brought up that bill. So the floor leader, who's a great ally to the Freedom Caucus, Alex Riley, he's going to be the next speaker.
Yeah.
He must have thought it was going to pass. Jamie, it went down in flames. And that's disgusting and humiliating for the Republican supermajority. And you know why it mainly went down? Predominantly because about 24 well-known educrat rhino moderates voted against the bill.
Wow. 24. You got to have a list, because that's terrible. What was the parental rights bill particularly about?
It was making sure, Jamie, that parents have the ultimate say in what their children get taught at our government-funded run schools.
Wow.
And the NEA, I don't know, Jamie, I don't know if this bill just caught everybody off guard. I haven't gotten the full story, but I'll send you the tweet, the post that Ben Keithley put up with the screenshot of the nose.
Oh, good.
The Republican nose. And you can see him right there in full, vibrant Technicolor from the voting board. And Ben is incensed because Ben is like bent over backwards this year to not only get his priorities done and that of the Freedom Caucus, but all conservative priorities. He's like involved in every major issue in the House. And this was his bill, his baby, and it should have passed. And the NEA and the School Board Association and the Superintendent's Association, Jamie, they have this unholy alliance. They get together every once in a while, and they applied their muscle last week, and that bill went down.
Well,
and it is having major ramifications as we head into the last 2 weeks of session because Ben Keithley, he's out for a little blood, a little rhetorical blood this week. And I think the Freedom Caucus is going to kill as many stupid moderate bills as they can.
Oh, good.
As a little bit of, hey, don't ever do that again kind of reminder.
Well, I think that a couple things, as you pointed out, you don't have to wear the T-shirt, but either help us or get out of the way, which is what these people could have done. But I think that I guarantee you these rhinos probably consider themselves either in a purple district, whatever. I think they cut deals with these NEA and teachers union people so that they don't get any competition for their seat because they're afraid they're going to put somebody up and beat them, whatever. And so what they do is they purposely kind of neuter themselves on behalf of these people. And by voting no, they actually avoid getting attacked by these people. And that means you're just a coward more than anything else and not standing up for your principles. So good. I'm glad, Ben, and the rest of the gang, I'm glad you guys are on the warpath with these people because that should happen. In the last week of the session, just go ahead and burn some huts. Why not?
Yeah, why not? And Jamie, I finally want to leave you with something that's I want to leave you some happy news.
Yes.
After fighting for this for 3 years, the Freedom Caucus's number one priority, Jamie, is to limit the size and scope of government. How do you do that? You trim and you reduce the amount of money that the government has to spend that it takes from us every single year. You leave that money in the people's pockets because, Jamie, as you know, government doesn't make anything as much as it wants to talk about, we create jobs. And no, you don't.
Yeah.
You create an environment. You either create an environment where entrepreneurs like the ones who created News Talk STL can survive and thrive, or you put up barriers, right? You do one or the other. You don't create really anything except for environments that are either positive or negative. Well, Jamie, they get that power from money, right? For the first time, Jamie, in the 3 years since the Freedom Caucus was founded, and we've demanded this every single year, we've gotten success in the House. We finally got the right people in the right places in the Senate. Jamie, the Freedom Caucus helped make sure that we're going to cut over $4 billion out of our bloated budget. A lot more to do, but that is a step in the right direction for Missouri taxpayers.
Yeah, no doubt, and that is good news. All right, well, Tim Jones, we'll hear you at 4 o'clock. You will be live from Jefferson City along with Christopher Arps for the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, so love that show as always, and we'll talk to you then. Send me that screenshot, man. I'll read those names over the air.
Absolutely. It'll
Okay,
be a
buddy.
fun time indeed. Thanks, Jimmy, for having me.
All right, man. It's good talking to you. Safe travels, and that is Tim Jones. Going for the final stretch there in Jefferson City. This is Common Sense Radio. It's the 3 Martini Lunch, my friends. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
As you know, Vincent's is not just my favorite jeweler. Vincent's is my only jeweler. And I was in recently looking at lab-grown diamonds. These are not glass. They are actual diamonds, but they cost a fraction of a natural diamond. You can check them out at Vincents.com, or better yet, see these lab-grown diamonds in person. You're going to be amazed at the beauty and the price. Vincent's Jewelers, VincentsJewelers.com.
Remember when food tasted like home? When breakfast was made from scratch and dessert was worth saving room for? At Shorty's Diner, we're serving up down-home breakfasts, lunches, and desserts just like Mom used to make. Fresh, from scratch, every single day. Step back in time with us, where the booths are cozy, Elvis is always in the building, and every plate feels like a hug.
Calling all Vic heads. Ken and I will be doing our show live from Shorty's Diner this Friday. Stop by for a delicious breakfast or lunch and say hi at Shorty's Diner on Lackland in Westport.
Colombo and Company.
A federal judge in D.C. is more worried about whether the guy who tried to shoot the president is comfortable in jail than he is about justice. We'll discuss the latest Tuesday, plus Crane Durham and Susie Moore.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Window World, 800 Get Windows.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here and Ashton there. Do you guys know what the Met Gala is? I have no idea what that is. All I know is I keep seeing pictures of people in disgustingly expensive outfits. And I see that there's some woman there who is exceedingly unattractive. Normally, I'm not very judgy like that, but she is. I don't even know who she is, Paulson or something. Wearing a dollar bill mask, presumably to... It was supposed to, protest the 1%, right? But these people, each one of them paid $100,000 a ticket to go to this thing. It doesn't make any sense to me. And she looks so dumb doing it. And I still don't know what the Met Gala is. And you guys, isn't it interesting how we kind of live? We're just, we're out here scrapping, working hard, doing whatever else. And then right across the color teeny, you're seeing a bunch of people with, a bunch of flashing camera bulbs and stuff. And you don't know what it is, but you're not even interested enough to inquire into it. It just is so weird. Do you guys know what the Met Gala is? Or if you do know, are you just too embarrassed to actually say that you do? Because really, none of us are really supposed to know what the Met Gala is. And I prided myself in getting through 63 years of not knowing what the Met Gala is, even though it's probably been going on for 50 years or whatever. I am proud to say I still do not know what the Met Gala is. I'm just telling you. President Trump is trolling people again about sticking around for another term, so that's going to be fun to talk about. And back to Tucker Carlson, man. He's got, some people are thinking that maybe he has some severe mental problems or whatever. I don't diagnose people, but some people are saying that. I've got evidence of why they're saying it. I'll boil down those names for you of the people who have decided to vote, the Republicans who voted against the parental rights thing. Tim sent me this graphic, but it's I have to decipher it. It's Common Sense Radio.
Want to work with a winner? Follow the multiplier. 279 times growth in total market cap in the past nearly 30 years. 50 times growth in client assets. And ranked the #1 wealth management firm for employee advisor satisfaction by J.D. Power 3 years in a row. Choose a winner. Choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE. For J.D. Power 2025 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
When you count on Connor, you're getting the timeless American values that have guided our company from day one. Hard work, impeccable service, and honesty. At Connor Roofing, you aren't just getting a roof, you're getting safeguarded by a neighbor who cares. When you count on Connor, you're receiving protection for your home, your family, and your peace of mind.
Visit ConnorRoofing.com.
Hi, this is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the region's largest RE/MAX real estate brokerage. It is cold outside, but the real estate market is hot. This is a great time to buy or sell a home. Interest rates are also declining, which gives you more buying power. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me at 314-852-8933 for a free custom home buying plan. 314-852-8933.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The U.S. military said 2 American-flagged merchant ships had successfully transited the Strait of Hormuz on Monday as part of a new initiative. It's called Project Freedom, designed to open up the strait despite ongoing threats from Iran. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
For too long, Iran has been harassing ships, shooting at civilian tankers from all nations, and trying to impose a tolling system. Iran's plan, a form of international extortion, is unacceptable.
President Trump doesn't talk much about red lines in the war with Iran, but he got a chance to do just that when he spoke with the Salem Radio Network's Hugh Hewitt.
Do we have to get back the highly enriched uranium? Is that a red line for a deal?
Yes, we do.
Do they have to cap their missile production?
And by the way, from a standpoint of value, it's not very valuable. Probably can't be used. They may not be able to get it because, despite they love to say, oh, maybe these great pilots didn't do their job. In the dead of night at 1 o'clock in the morning with no moon, every single bomb went down those air shafts. It's the most incredible. Totally, I use the word obliterated, and the Atomic Energy Commission agreed with me.
The president was a recent guest on the Hugh Hewitt Show on the Salem Radio Network. On Wall Street right now, a booming session with the Dow up by 291 points, and NASDAQ up 375. Lawmakers in several southern states meeting this week to consider redistricting plans in response to the Supreme Court ruling that struck down voting districts that were drawn up solely on the basis of race.
Republican Alabama Governor Kay Ivey called legislators into a special session on Monday, which could enable a new date for congressional primaries. Tennessee Republican Governor Bill Lee has announced a special session starting Tuesday to redraw the state's U.S. House districts. And Louisiana lawmakers are in session to consider how to redraw districts after the Supreme Court struck down a majority black district in that state.
That's Bernie Bennett reporting. More from townhall.com.
Health insurance rates are surging in America, leaving millions without affordable options. If you're sick of having paychecks eaten up by healthcare costs or dealing with mega corporations, then listen to this. Christians don't need to waste money on a broken system. That's why I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance at half the cost. With CHM, fellow believers contribute monthly to help pay each other's medical bills. There's no enrollment period, so you can join anytime. And you aren't restricted to provider networks, so you choose the doctors and hospitals you want. It's that simple. CHM is not insurance. It's a ministry that puts faith into action. Feel the difference of financial support and biblical care from fellow believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a soggy, cool day out there with periods of rain likely throughout the day today, and it could be a little bit locally heavy at times. We don't anticipate a lot of thunderstorm activity, but that's still possible too. A little rumble of thunder here and there. Temperatures will be in the low to mid 50s and actually dropping during the day a little bit. We'll still see some showers overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning, and then things should clear out, but it's going to be a cooler day with partly cloudy skies. In the First Alert KMOV Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kent Earhart.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO.
877-25-RHINO or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
Your workout tomorrow starts tonight. Your focus at work starts tonight. Your patience with your family starts tonight. Sleep isn't the end of your day, it's the beginning of your life. At Snooze Mattress and Wellness, we're locally owned and family owned, and we use advanced technology to help you find a mattress designed for deep, restorative sleep. Because this isn't about furniture, it's about waking up renewed. Snooze Mattress and Wellness in Chesterfield. Sleep restored, life renewed.
This is Steve Rupp, president of Missouri Right to Life. Join us for the Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet with keynote speaker Riley Gaines on May 20th at the St. Charles Convention Center. We're fighting to restore protection for every unborn child in Missouri. Tickets to hear Riley Gaines are just $100. Seats are filling fast, so reserve yours now. Go to MissouriLife.org for details. Together, we will make Missouri pro-life again.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, Ashton over there, and this is the 3 Martini Lunch, and apparently... Sorry, you guys on Facebook. Apparently, Facebook, I play so much music, and I play a lot of music. It's not always the kind that you will hear on the radio all the time or what have you. But some things really draw the attention of the people who are the monitors there on Facebook, and apparently, yes, is definitely one of those things. It gets the little tattletales over at Facebook all bent out of shape. And then, but they're playing yes! Kick them off! Johnson! Yes, sir! Yeah, these people are obnoxious. All right, Tim did send me that graph that Ben Keithley put out of the Republicans who betrayed parents in Missouri by shutting down this parental rights bill. And in looking at it, it's even worse than you can imagine, because I don't recognize any of the no-vote Republicans. And there were 60 no votes and 70 yes votes. But the things that are the people who I want to be zeroing in on are the Republicans who voted present, which means they didn't render any kind of opinion and, in fact, put down their arms for somebody. They neutered themselves for somebody. At least the Republicans who voted no have attached their name to the no votes. But the ones who voted present, now those are the cowards and the prostitutes for the NEA, who for some reason decided they were going to stand aside and let the bill die. Now, obviously, there were only 8 present votes, and so the division between the yes and no's were 10. But then you also have the not voting, which those names are not attached, but 20 people didn't vote. I don't know how many people are Republicans and how many people are Democrats in that, but you need to take a look at those present votes, the 8 of them, and then you'll really see the complete lack of courage among some Republicans in Jefferson City, and it's pretty bad. I mean, it is really super embarrassing. But the Missouri Freedom Caucus went ahead and if you follow them on X or whatever, they with the headline, want to know which Republicans are controlled by the NEA and are afraid of their own shadows? Look at the yellow present votes and those that voted against putting parents in charge of their children's education. And, yeah, I think the The present votes are really disturbing. And I think when people vote present, I can't imagine that as a person who is an elected representative, that people took the time and effort to get you elected, and when it comes time for you to cast a vote, you just say present instead of actually rendering an opinion one way or the other. I think that ought to really come back and haunt some of these politicians, because that's exactly what was going on. All right, so we seem to be getting closer, but apparently not close enough to Dr. Fauci, the evil Dr. Fauci. And I do believe that Dr. Birx is also part of this cabal. And as I have said before, I still don't understand how Dr. Birx has become kind of a regular on Newsmax when her hands are so dirty over the COVID thing. In fact, when it comes to school closures, Dr. Birx was probably the number one person responsible for all of the school closures across the country. You guys do realize that, oh, hey, Jay Van Brown, how you doing? Obama, he says, hey, good to see Jamie Allman again. Hardly ever see what I want to see on Facebook. Well, Jay Van Brown, thank you, longtime friend, and I believe in Over the Rotor, I believe. So, yeah. Anyway, I think you are, Jay Van. Anyway, glad to have you back in the fold, and thank you guys for all joining. Ann is coming in from Washington, Mo, and Allison's there, Phil's there, and PM is there. And so is Random Hanky. I don't know who that is. He just put something up there on the page. So, yeah. All right. So Dr. Birx was the one who traveled around the country and encouraged the school closures. The school closings was not part of President Trump's plan of response to COVID. And in fact, while President Trump was talking about keeping schools open and churches open and everything else, Dr. Birx was flying around the country, basically encouraging the exact opposite. So she's really a bad player in all this. Last week, you did see that one of Dr. Fauci's advisors and close confidants was indicted, basically for being untransparent and, in fact, even really playing some nefarious games with files and things like that. The guy was crooked as the day is long. On top of that, we also have the revelations, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday with Christina Bobb, about how the FDA and the science foundations and all these people who were kind of part of the, with the vaccinations and everything else, the FDA was involved in the vaccination thing, where they were filing reports on negative reactions to the vaccine. They were filing like weekly reports on what they understood to be negative reactions to the vaccines. And some of these were very, very troubling, including heart palpitations, strokes, things like that. And then what happened is there were starting to become some Freedom of Information Act requests that were being made to see those weekly reports. These were not Freedom of Information Act requests from anybody in the media. These were all organizations that were, for instance, defending people's freedoms and other. These are nonprofit organizations who were helping us in defense of COVID, and in defense of the COVID policies as well as the vaccines. The media didn't even bother looking into this stuff. They didn't care. It was pretty crazy. The Freedom of Information Act request was originally designed for the press, really, for journalists, but they never use it, hardly. It's always Judicial Watch or some other organization here and there. Anyway, what the people internally decided to do was they just simply, instead of having to hand over these reports of negative reactions to the vaccine, they just stopped putting out the weekly reports. Therefore, when you put a Freedom of Information Act request for something that doesn't exist, they never see it. So they basically were deleting emails, and they were only talking in person. They didn't put anything on paper anymore. They stopped doing that because they knew something was up and actively covered up the fact that the vaccine was harming a lot of people. And they did that because Biden was introducing vaccine mandates. And I'll never forget when he talked about companies over 500 employees or whatever, or I can't remember the number, and saying that they were going to have to mandate that their workers get the vaccine or they'd be punished. And I remember at the time, I was on the radio at the time, and I remember saying, I guarantee you that Joe Biden will never have anything on paper that punishes businesses, and that the mere threat of this will get businesses to do it. And lo and behold, absolutely they did. Every company mandated vaccines under threat by Joe Biden. There was never anything that was on paper that constituted a proposal for fines or whatever. It was just Joe Biden saying it that got all these cowardly corporations to mandate vaccines, and small businesses, all these kinds of people. And so it was just by threat. That's how bad this society was during that time. That's what sheeple we became. It was pretty crazy. Anyway, fast forward to now, and the FBI now is conducting a criminal investigation into this National Institute of Health virologist. His name is Vincent Munster, of course. One of Anthony Fauci's top bat coronavirus researchers. And this was at the high-security Rocky Mountain Laboratories in Montana. He and a colleague were caught smuggling dangerous pathogen samples. They were caught with included monkeypox viruses from the Congo. So they were trying to bring them here to study them or do whatever, or maybe even weaponize them. There's a big report that is out there. There was another scientist. They were stopped during airport security screening upon their return from Africa early this year. So they were caught bringing this stuff back from Africa, the monkeypox virus. And these are all people who were working with Dr. Fauci. And this guy is a current National Institute of Health virologist. And he was caught trying to bring monkeypox back from Africa. I mean, what are these people up to? And how could this guy possibly, be still employed there? Monkeypox is classified by the Department of Health and Human Services as a select agent that poses a severe threat to public safety, and you have to have all this permitting for it and shipping protocols and everything else. Now, also, this is reminding me, and maybe even reminding you, about, remember those Chinese scientists who were caught with biomedical material, and they're all here in the United States of America working at these universities. But they were caught. Remember, they were caught with biomedical material, and they discovered the biomedical vials in their socks, in their suitcases. Whatever happened to that story, whatever happened to them, I have no idea. And there was also the head, I believe, of the chemical engineering department at one of the schools up east, who was also charged or indicted for some nefarious activities regarding biomedical material. And this leads to what I'm really getting to, which is the fact that Rand Paul is saying now, hey, 1 week left to charge Fauci for lying to Congress about gain-of-function research. And this is exactly what Rand Paul has said. The Department of Justice has 1 week left to charge Anthony Fauci for the worst cover-up in modern medical history. He lied to Congress about funding gain-of-function research in Wuhan. Millions died, trillions were spent, and Fauci walked away with book deals and fawning media coverage instead of handcuffs. I re-upped my criminal referral to the DOJ because the evidence is overwhelming and justice has been delayed long enough. So I really don't understand why, in any way, shape, or form, that this hasn't happened yet, and why the Department of Justice has not done anything about it. And it's interesting because if you look on the internet for this exchange with Dr. Fauci, it basically has been scrubbed. This was in 2022, I believe. It basically has been scrubbed from the internet, which is crazy. Now, I think you can find it if you look hard enough. But you know, when I am on a website now where there was a link to it, but it has disappeared. But this is actually 2021 when this exchange happened, and Fauci basically denied that the NIH had funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan. And when he said that, he believed he had plausible deniability because the NIH just funded other operations that funded gain-of-function research. But Fauci knew that they were funding gain-of-function research, and if the NIH is giving money to organizations that are doing the funding, they're basically just laundering money to get the gain-of-function research done without having to report it or be accountable for it. So that's called basically laundering money, is what that is, through an organization in order to get gain-of-function research done when the NIH was forbidden from doing it. And so they were warned not to do it. Even Obama was very, very suspicious at the time about gain-of-function research, all that kind of stuff. But Dr. Fauci figured out a way to get it done without having his hands dirtied by the whole thing, and that's exactly what happened. So Rand Paul is exactly right. I have no idea. Listen, if you can indict Comey over his Instagram post and his supposed intentions, whatever, you sure as hell can indict Dr. Fauci, for crying out loud. Man, you'd think so. All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up, is Tucker Carlson losing his mind? I mean, that's just... It's not because I disagree with him on stuff. It's because he might well be losing his mind. And I'll have an example of that coming up. This is Common Sense Radio, the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, Diana Newstar just was talking to her the other day. We're getting into that season, the season of love, as they say, the season of engagements, and the seasons of nice things like Mother's Day, and the seasons of confirmation or special events and things like that. And that's a beautiful time, a wonderful time to present somebody with something really beautiful and, even for that matter, simple and priced this right from Newstedter's Fine Jewelry right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend. And I got to tell you, love these people. They are jewelers. So they're jewelers. They're just not salespeople. Diana is a jeweler. So is Teresa and Anna as well. And so you walk in and you see the smiling faces of all of those there. Above the door, God is welcome here is what it says. And so it's a lovely, lively place with people who know what they're doing. And if you kind of don't know what you're looking for, Diana always has great suggestions. She kind of has a real knack for kind of knowing what people are after and looking for and everything else, and will guide you. And she said, the latest thing I'm doing is somebody comes in, a guy comes in, not quite sure what to get his lovely wife or even his daughter for something special. And she always suggests the guaranteed winners, which would be the stacker rings, which have those gemstones in them and are very playful, versatile with any kind of outfit. And you can mix and match them and do all that kind of stuff. So wowdiamonds.com is the website. It's a beautiful place. Allison was just there, and she says New Center's Wow Diamonds are beautiful. They are the nicest people, and on the right side. That is true. When Allison was there, she mentioned that Diana, I actually laughed with Diana about this on the phone when I was talking to her yesterday, and she said, yeah, it was a customer who was kind of dissing the president, and she set him straight. So it was good. And it's always great. They welcome everybody, so don't worry about that. They do have a absolute really cool thing, the layaway program, which is kind of a thing from the old days, but they do it, and they have a wish list. And as Allison mentioned, yeah, those diamonds, they're mined or lab grown, are absolutely beautiful, which is where the wow comes from. WowDiamonds.com, strong supporters of free, common sense, conservative radio. WowDiamonds.com. That's WowDiamonds.com.
Stan Musial, he missed a season in his prime to serve his country in the Navy.
Honor a legend on Saturday, May 16th when the Cardinals face the Kansas City Royals. Fans can secure a Stan Musial military bobblehead presented by Coca-Cola and Deerbirds. This patriotic collectible celebrates Stan's Hall of Fame career and his service to our country. A true symbol of character on and off the field. A tribute worth displaying and remembering. Don't miss it. Get tickets and details at cardinals.com/promotions.
Paging all nurses and healthcare heroes. This night is for you. Join the Cardinals for Nurses Appreciation on Wednesday, May 20th and Thursday, May 21st at Busch Stadium. With a special theme ticket, you'll receive a healthcare-inspired Cardinal sweatshirt plus a coupon for a complimentary drink. It's our way of saying thank you for all that you do in our community. Don't miss the special theme at the ballpark. Details and tickets at cardinals.com/theme.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Here's my problem.
Completely agree with your sentiments.
He talks about we're divided. Well, yeah, we are.
And we need to wake up as a country and realize what's going on.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Gemini Wealth Group.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Good afternoon, everyone. Allison is pointing out that the interaction between Diana and the person who needed perhaps some guidance ended in a hug. Of course, it always does. Diana's a hugger, so. And she's very sweet about it, and she really is super nice. And so, love those people there. And you come in and say you're from the Allman Report or News Talk STL, they'll absolutely love on you like they do everybody else. So that's how that is going to go down for you. So I intended to bring you the Tucker Carlson thing because it was a tape that I had flagged from a website. I'm sure it's floating around someplace, but I went to it to bring it to you, and now it's behind a paywall because apparently what happens is they have enough people viewing it, and they decide, well, wow, there are a lot of people viewing it, so let's go ahead and put it behind a paywall in the VIP section of the website. I'm sorry. I appreciate what these people are doing, and I appreciate the need for money. I get that too. But I'm not going to pay to listen to Tucker Carlson melt down, denying that he said Trump was the Antichrist. And it was after President Trump, I guess he didn't put his hand on a Bible or something. Like nobody cares about that kind of stuff. Unless, of course, you hate Donald Trump or you resent him or you're not getting the kind of attention from him that you kind of want, or you're trying to recreate a grift or whatever you want to do. But most people don't. You got to understand, like the Never Trump people and the Trump doubters and ne'er-do-wells always look for something that is going to set them apart because it makes them look like they're just so even-handed and so this. And so they become the usual fainting goats over every little thing that President Trump does. In fact, I can't remember what the last one was. What was that? Was that the, I don't know, he did something on the internet or something, and it was like, oh, my God, what? I can't remember what it was. There's it happens so often. Like every time he does something that somehow is a little different, people who hate him go crazy over it. It's kind of like, where you get to the point where, people who are married or whatever for a long time, you get to the point where you can't stand the way the other one eats, right? Or chews. You start noticing things like that, right? That you never even cared about before, right? That just means that you're not liking that person the way, because you're nitpicking and you're picking at stupid things like that. And so those little things start to bother you. That's a sign that you might be losing some level of mojo for somebody. But with President Trump, it's always something. And people always sweat over it and everything else. And so anyway, yes, PM. So that's the video. So basically, Tucker Carlson, he's asked by this person who says, you described President Trump as the Antichrist. He's like, no, I didn't. She goes, yes, you did. And then embedded in the tape, unless she played it, I don't know, is Tucker Carlson talking about the hand on the Bible thing and says, is that the Antichrist? I don't know, because I really don't know what the Antichrist is. That's what he said. He said it, and he sat there in this interview and completely denied saying it, even though it's on tape. So anyway, I was going to play that for you, but I'm not putting my credit card in there to play Tucker Carlson for you. You get the drift here, and you understand. I have to admire this website for what they do, because they did that with another video as well. So in the morning, as I'm kind of putting things together, doing things, whatever, I flag something. Well, that's another example of somebody watching it. And then by the afternoon, they're making people pay for it because they know people like it. And I don't blame them. That's capitalism. That's the free market. But I just am not going to, I'm just not going to pay for it. That's all. It's not that valuable to me. You get the drift and everything else. Here is President Trump, who is trolling people. And, of course, I'm sure, somebody out there, oh, please don't say that. You're just going to give the left ammunition, blah, 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 blah. Here.
And this way, when I get out of office in, let's say, 8 or 9 years from now, I'll be able to use it. I'll be able to use it myself.
I mean, and what's funny is that President Trump does that, and he has this really, if you stick with it long enough, like you stick with the video long enough, he says this, and it's a complete and total troll. And then he has kind of that little, I don't know, I don't really can't recreate it, but you know what I'm talking about, that kind of smile, that closed mouth smile, like, I just did that. And it's really great. And you know what's amazing is that we are so lucky to have a president with a sense of humor, like who has a personality. And apparently that makes so many people angry when President Trump isn't, just kind of like your staid George W. Bush Republican. Although I think GW actually had a little more sense of humor than most other Republicans, so I don't want to bash him on that. He did smile, like GW did smile. But, after going through a period of time, where you had that yes, DLW, the smirk, it's great. We went through that time where, like, Obama was always like the Prince of Darkness. He was always frowning. He was always scowling. With his scowling wife. And when he gave speeches and stuff, he'd always, have his chin up in the air and be all like, and he just was so dark. He made you just feel like not really good. You know what I mean? And Joe Biden was the same. Joe Biden was never funny. When he cracked a joke, it usually was about like Indians working at 7-Eleven or something racist or something like that. But he never, he ate ice cream. Oh, big deal. Look, I'm a president who eats an ice cream cone. That's really amazing. You have such a depth of personality. And by the way, there was a little graphic I saw, which was so good and actually true. Although, you know what? I mean, I have to tell you that, there are kids can be bad without having bad parents, but it's probably unlikely. But it can happen, so I want to leave open that possibility. But they had a graphic, and it had Barack Obama, one of Barack Obama's daughter, like out there smoking a cig. And I don't think there's anything really wrong with that necessarily. It's smoking cigarettes. But smoking a cig in a bikini, which, it's not. But anyway, for the purposes of exposition, it was interesting to have that in there. And then Kamala Harris's daughter, who was like some kind of weird with, a bone through her nose or something. And then you had Hunter Biden in there as well. And then you had Barron Trump. And so the comparison was so interesting to see the difference between those three, presidents and their kids and Trump and Barron. So I'm just saying it sometimes having that personality. The 4 kids pick DLW. Yeah. So sometimes having that, kind of jocularity and sense of humor and everything else, and basically a sunny disposition, a way of just kind of being light and not having everything has to be just a, drop dead moment all the time. And, President Trump is really super entertaining, at least in my opinion. And unless you hate him, then he's not entertaining. Yeah, Phil, I don't know. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't a bone through it. I don't know what it was. But still, but I just he's just funny, I just, he just
and
trolls
way,
people,
when I get out of office in, let's say, 8 or 9 years from now, I'll be able to use it. I'll be able to use it myself.
And looks around and has that smirk. He reminds me so much. And I think actually it's funny because I've told you the story about how my mom never liked President Trump. But I remember laughing with her about him because, and she and I always did that because she and I disagreed politically quite a bit. But it didn't matter, we just sat there and, had a couple of vodkas and talked, and I'd scream at the TV when the news was on, and that's just how we did it. But anyway, one time I told her, I said, I know why you don't really like Donald Trump. And some of it was his policies, obviously. But it was also his personality, because he reminded Trump reminded her of my dad, who she divorced, because my dad was one of those, kind of swinging 60s type of guys, and a little bit, out there sometimes. And that's where I get it, and they had 6 kids together. We were all together over the weekend. It's great. And so we, but he did, and Trump reminds me of that. He really does. He really is kind of a guy who is out of his time a little bit. He belongs in the 60s, which I love, by the way, because it's a great era, and I love the fact that he belongs in the 60s, because that makes him entertaining and not give a rat's rear end about what other people think. And remember back in the day when people smoked on airplanes. I mean, I still can't believe people did that. But keep in mind, that was back in the day when nobody really cared whether somebody was smoking on an airplane. And I'm not saying that's a great thing or not, but that was back in the day when people minded their own friggin' business and didn't whine about everything all the time. I was watching somebody, it was a video that came across Facebook where there's a group of people and they were recording some live soundtrack of some Broadway thing. And a couple of them are standing there singing with a cigarette in their hand. It's like, really? But anyway, those were back in the day when people really didn't care. We're always in everybody else's business. And, I still can't believe people smoked on airplanes, but I think it's really super cool, to tell you the truth. But anyway, back to my mom. So one more thing. I did put up a post yesterday night. If you missed it, it's on the Facebook page that you're on right now, or whatever you're on right now. And I put the pictures up of our visit, our dedication of my mom's memorial stone in my grandma's garden, and it was really wonderful. And somebody had commented because I had my pants that are the kind of the crazy pants that I like to wear when I fly. I don't know why, but they're these orange and black pants. Then I had these really bright blue pants, and my brothers and sisters were giving me a little bit of trouble. Like, where do you get your outfits, man? Like, what's going on? I said, blame mom. Because whatever way I dress right now, which some people find maybe not flamboyant. I don't want to use that term anyway, because it insinuates something else. But, kind of off the grid, like I dress like I don't care what you think. And that's true. Back when I was on TV, I wore plaids with stripes. I didn't care. And I also wore a pocket square as well, that, of course, all the other anchors decided. But I said, blame mom, because my mom, for some reason, I was always the dress-up doll for my mom. So my mom would dress me in, like, some really, like, sometimes even fancy clothes and things like that. She one time got lederhosen from my grandma, because we're from German background and everything else. And my brothers wore them, and I did too. But my mom told me one time my brother came home from church, because he wore it at church, and was crying because people were making fun of him. And I was like, because I wore them, and I thought I saw people staring at me, but I never really knew what it was about. I really didn't care. So anyway, that's the beginning of the time when I kind of just started dressing like I don't care, and everything else. And what's funny is, and I don't get them for compliments or whatever else, but my sister was telling me, because she went into, of course, we're in Asheville, and of course there's a yarn store in Asheville, right? So she goes into the yarn store. I'm standing outside, and the woman in the yarn store is like, look at that guy's pants. I love them. And she's like, that's my brother. She goes, well, tell him I love his pants. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool, But anyway, I don't know where it was. Oh, wait, yeah. It started with Donald Trump. So if you can imagine a discussion that begins with Donald Trump and ends with a yarn store and flashy pants. That's the Allman Report here. That's the 3 martini lunch, ladies and gentlemen. It's Common Sense Radio. So glad you guys are here. Happy Tuesday.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car. I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Well, you talk about swaggerly and you talk about class. Well, you know what you get? You get Santino cigars and cocktails right there off of the Imperial exit off of 55. And Mike Marino, who's a good friend of mine and really just such a great guy, and he is Mr. Hospitality. So you walk into Santino Cigar and Cocktails, and he is your guy. He is your greeter. He's always there, and he's always ready to show you around if need be, whatever. He'll take you into the gigantic humidor, which is a walk-in humidor, really super cool, and it is stocked with cigars, sometimes as old as 10 years old, which always makes some of these cigars really absolutely special. It is full of pipe tobacco and pipes and everything else, and that's really cool, too. When I was there were some young guys smoking pipes. It was pretty cool. It's kind of the in thing for some people nowadays. So pipe smoking, cigars smoking, and, of course, don't forget the whiskey part. Mike is a person who really dotes on the specialness of certain drinks. So even just as simple as an old-fashioned, that's really super important for Mike to get it all right, get it all balanced just properly, because there is a way to do it. And he's very well aware of how drinking is a wonderful thing, and especially when it's done right in terms of making the drinks. And so he's really a specialist in that, has all kinds of different whiskeys. Man, that wall is full of varieties of whiskeys and of tequilas. I had a really off-the-grid tequila while I was there. It was really good. Also have the gins and vodkas and things like that. And, of course, wine selection is excellent. There is a wine room that is completely smoke-free, if that's your jam, and that is just off to the side. It's great. But even if you're in the main area there, he has an exhaust system just like they have in Las Vegas at the casinos and that kind of thing. So basically, it just keeps things relatively smoke-free. I mean, you can still certainly smell the delicious beautiness of the cigar and pipe tobacco, but you're not smoked out. So that's really cool, too. It's right there off of 55 at the Imperial exit. Really beautiful place, and also a great place to have your graduation parties. Well, maybe not graduation parties, but you know what I mean. Your graduation from college parties. Let's put it that way. Or to have birthday parties, whatever. He's got a whole area down there, have game rooms, separate bar, all that kind of stuff. So retirement parties, you name it. It's a great place to go ahead and gather a bunch of your closest peeps. SantinoCigarCocktails.com. That's SantinoCigarCocktails.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Duchenne High School, Bula Yomo, and Mobile Magic Auto Body. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Columbo and Company.
A federal judge in D.C. is more worried about whether the guy who tried to shoot the president is comfortable in jail than he is about justice. We'll discuss the latest Tuesday, plus Crane Durham and Susie Moore.
Live and local, weekdays at 2
on News Talk STL. The Allman Report, sponsored by Hansen's Tree Service.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Cinco de Mayo, as Ashlyn just reminded me. Forgot about all that. You know, that bar that used to be Hacienda right there on Manchester? Can you believe that closed? It's out right there in Rock Hill. It was really like a thriving place. I can't believe it closed. You guys know why that closed? It's a good little place. This isn't particularly Mexican music. This is actually the Gypsy Kings, who I love. It's actually what they're singing is it's Gitán, so it's mostly French and Latino together. It's kind of interesting, but I've seen the Gypsy Kings a bunch of times, and they're a great band. So it's as close to mariachi as I can get. I like mariachi music. Speaking of that, yesterday, I will have you know, after the girls were in bed, I went down into the basement and into this place that I call the wine room that doesn't really actually have any wine in it. But at one point I wanted it to. And then just never got around to it. I was going to decorate it. I might still do that. But I went in there and I played my my trumpet. So I was, I gave my best, tried my best. This is much mariachi music. There we go. That's me in my wine room last night. It's just, I recorded it on my phone. And I just banging on a little drum on the side, because you could play one-handed. And then I just reverbed the trumpet to make it sound like that. And then what I did was I put the trumpet down and started to play my fiddle, which I learned to play a while back. So I kind of just conglomerated everything together. I'm actually getting better with the trumpet, people. Don't worry. I finally got the lip stuff down. Ashlyn always reminds me of the holidays because yesterday she reminded me it was the May the 4th be with you part of it. And Obama and Mark Hamill from Star Wars, and you know Mark Hamill is a really obnoxious left-wing crazy, did a video at the Obama Presidential Center because, after all, Star Wars, it's all about Barack Obama, apparently. So they ruined it.
Happy Star Wars Day from the Obama Presidential Center.
I have a very good feeling about this.
Mark, I am glad you are here. I want to tell you about someone.
Okay.
A young person born into ordinary circumstances, but restless, unsatisfied.
Mm-hmm.
A kid with big dreams, a bit of a rebel.
We're going to ruin Star Wars Day. What does this have to do with anything except Mark Hamill being in Star Wars?
They join a scrappy group of underdogs and set out to change things.
By blowing up a giant space laser?
Mark, this is not about you.
It's about me, Barack Obama.
As you are, this is about them. This isn't a monument to my legacy. It's a gateway to yours. The Obama Presidential Center is much more than a museum. It is an entire campus built to empower you. A place to come together, get inspired, and become a force.
There's a basketball court at the Obama Presidential Center.
For change. See what I did there?
Tickets available, when is that? On the 6th? May 6th, they you can get tickets to the Obama Presidential Center. That's going to be great. It's going to be so much fun to make fun of all that. Something stupid's going to happen, and it's going to be great. But, man, it's a whole complex. So, man, these guys could really know how to ruin a Star Wars Day. And in Mark Hamill, unfortunately, I don't even, did you hear that? Like, it didn't make any sense at all. Like, none of it made any sense. It was all about Barack Obama in the library, which is this gigantic thing. And it's a campus. Like, it's a whole big campus and everything else. And Phil says it's $30 for adults and $23 for kids. DLW says $33 tickets. So it's either way, it's expensive. But there were people like playing there's a basketball court there, which makes no sense. I'm so glad we've been able to move on from the 4th to the 5th because nothing like putting Barack Obama and Mark Hamill in the rear view mirror. That's for sure. All right, you guys, good afternoon. And Julie says it's an ugly building. It really is. It looks like this, like one big fat gigantic stone. It's really weird. Anyway, Tony Colombo and Company straight ahead. Ashlyn, thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for listening to the 3 Martini Lunch.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli. We're sitting here with our great friend, Chris Cooper. Hi, Chris.
What's going on, Vic? How are you?
I hear you wrote another book. This one's an e-book. Is that right?
The Business Owner's Playbook for Financial Clarity. So it is a great book for entrepreneurs. It's a very short guide. Give people, business owners, the ability to understand key questions that are important, such as succession planning, legacy planning, getting the IRS out of our pockets, right? Because do you like paying